Welcome. This is a live with John Smith, a lawful rebellion, a lawful remedy, a stepping stones interview with Caroline Stevens, and we'll give you over to Caroline. Stand by. You're live.
Welcome to a Stepping Stone series. I'm with John Smith today. John Smith is part of the common law court system, and John is going to talk about a lawful remedy part 2. John is based in Scotland and he's going to share his expertise with us now. Welcome, John. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we've already covered a lawful remedy in part 1 earlier. Part 2, we're going to look at the Magna Carta, or are we going to look at the Magna Carta? Over to you, John.
Thank you, Caroline. Welcome to your viewers. In relation to common law, you mentioned the Magna Carta just now. The same probably would be applicable to the Bill of Rights and also the Declaration of Arbroath in Scotland. While these documents are actually quite good and the foundation of the system has been based upon these documents, they're not always beneficial to the public in general. I think obviously some of these documents are set up to protect the state, the individuals in charge, and in relation to the people, many of the people are neglected.
Sorry, John, I didn't understand. I didn't realise that. So under Magna Carta, sometimes effectively the establishment's protected rather than the people.
Well, if you look at the Magna Carta, the original agreement, when it was drafted up because of the Baron's complaint with King John.
That's right.
The dispute was over the authority, and basically says the standing of the barons and the authority of the king in taxes and various other problems, but the dispute arose between these parties. So the barons had wanted to set up something with the crown to make sure that they were protected and their lands were protected. So while the basis of the Magna Carta was drafted to deal with these internal disputes between the barons and the crown, they decided then to put in some of the information to assist with the, let's say, the people or the peasants. So
people of what, sorry?
People, or what we call them, the peasants.
Right, okay. You mean us?
Yes, us. Basically the commoners. Now, there's, without a doubt, there are things in the Magna Carta which is beneficial and has been used, so it does benefit the people in general. However, people should not forget that the original Magna Carta was drafted because of a dispute between the barons and the king. So when the king and the barons sit down to divide up their estate and decide what they're going to do, I don't think the people actually got a lot of recognition there. So obviously I think first and foremost this was drafted to address the quarrels between them, and then they added additional things in to protect the people, rightly so, and it has been used. It's laid a foundation which is great, but obviously it wasn't predominantly laid down just to protect the people. Similarly with the Bill of Rights and in Scotland the Declaration of Arbroath. All these things were set up and drafted because of the authority, the crown, the barons in charge, the lords, the lairds, and again this is a token gesture was given to the people to protect the people. So when we've actually looked at this in relation to the judicial system and protecting the people's inherent birthrights, we then go back to basic principles, our first principles, and we say, look, strip everything away. It boils down to basically people's inherent birthrights.
John, can I just interrupt you? Because most people, the majority, I think, who are going to be listening to this video are probably living south of the border. Could you explain what the Declaration of Arbroath is, please?
The long and short of it was that because of the battle between the Scots and the English and the Crown at the time, basically says the English were coming in, putting forward various declarations and decided this is what they're going to do with the lands in Scotland. This is the control they had over the Crown at the time and the various lords in Scotland. And basically they turned around, the Scotsmen declared, obviously made a declaration.
When was this?
Oh God, it was Tell I can't remember.
It was before the Declaration, before the Bill of Rights, though.
Yes, way before.
Well before.
I think what had happened is the Declaration of Arbroath was actually set up at the time. I think it was Robert the Bruce and the noblemen in Scotland. They decided, obviously, they didn't want English rule, so they drafted a declaration out, and they submitted it to the Pope, basically claiming sovereignty for the nation and the people. And the long and short of it is saying that as long as there was 100 of us stood together, we will never be taken over by the English. That was it. So it's symbolic, the gesture of 100 people or 100 Scotsmen standing together. As long as we have 100 Scotsmen, we'll never succumb to the rule of the English.
Oh, right, okay. That's worth knowing.
That in itself is fine, but it says using that, we can then use this and make it applicable to everyone in the UK. It says realistically, it says, I think the division between the countries in the UK has predominantly been down to the Crown, the governments, and I think it's a way of colouring what's actually happening in day-to-day life. And I think it's obviously used to try and keep the people at loggerheads to cause disputes, disruption, whereas the people live in the UK, they live together and they live under one jurisdiction, which is common law.
So in actual fact, the governments they're happy for us to be divided in lots of different ways, aren't they? Whether you're wearing a party rosette, the colour of your skin, your religion, but this is the only way that the people can take back control.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. You look every day in daily life, there's divisions everywhere. It doesn't matter what you do. So there is divisions. It's just the way it works. Basically, so the government in particular, pride themselves in causing disruption. It doesn't matter what you do. There's an argument about anything. The way they operate, they're not open, they're not honest, and it causes friction. The media, to a certain extent, put out information which obviously panics people as well, causes obviously concern in everyday life. So people, instead of dealing with things rationally and thinking about what's actually happening, they're actually worrying about petty issues which have been created by the state or the authorities to try and obviously distract from what's actually happening. You look at the issues you mentioned earlier about Brexit. You've got things which are happening just now which are crucial, and yet instead of coming to the forefront and discussing these things, we're arguing about the latest episode of Love Island on television, or the state of the football, or obviously says grooming gangs or something like this. It's all side issues that obviously are thrown to the people to get the people quarrelling about things or arguing about minor things, which at the end of the day, if you boil it down to it, I couldn't care less about minor squabbles. Is at the end of the day, we've got to get down to the basics and think about how the country's run.
Well, you only have to analyse what you see on the BBC. You know, every day we're talking about obesity, we're talking about bullying. We're not actually talking about the news as such, are we?
No. You won't do that. This is you mentioned just now things like obesity and that. No, fine, further great topics. But at the end of the day, it's not something that's crucial to the existence of the country and the way we live our lives. They're basically putting on things, programs about this, which are ridiculous. They're not addressing serious issues, and the people are getting wrapped up in dealing with minor issues. But the thing is, programs come out one after the other addressing these simple things.
John, have you talking about really major issues? How are you aware about the rollout of 5G?
Yes, I've got a basic understanding of it, but I haven't been too involved in it. No, I still got a basic. There's certain things. When we actually deal with issues just now, you've got the 5G, you've got things like you mentioned in the earlier talk, the situation regarding the EU and the armed forces. You've got various other things which people go on about now. People speak about Agenda 21. I have a basic understanding about these. I certainly don't profess to be knowledgeable in these things, but at the end of the day, I think when I've actually looked at, if you come down to the basic principles, first principles, when you obviously have to live, you've got to protect yourself, protect your family, and you look to the basic standards. Now, when there's a problem there, I could not care less about what they propose to do about various other issues. I'm dealing with urgent things here which affect everyday life for myself, for my family, and similarly, I would think for every other individual in the country. You get back to basics and put the basic principles, the foundation stones in place. And I think there's too much time spent on things like obesity, stupid programs, as minor issues. They are all relevant. Obesity is a huge one. But the point being is, there's too much time spent on this and you're neglecting the basic principles, the foundation stones, so to speak, as to how you operate and live.
So basically, the basic principles, you've got them on a Common Law Courts Great Britain and International website. Yes. Help to Reclaim Our Rights and Lawful Remedy. Yeah. And do you have a CLC card? Now, I've been noticing on Facebook quite recently that people are promoting a CLC card. Would you like to explain? Because I actually don't know what one is. And perhaps many of the people in the audience have never heard of a CLC card. Could you explain what it is, please?
Yes, CLC stands for Common Law Court. And the Common Law Court card is a card that just confirms your position under common law. Having set up or convened the first Common Law Court, members of the public actually came and said, look, we need to use this. We need to use this for various reasons, predominantly being a lawful remedy. Since then, people have turned around and said, look, can we do various things? Now, it started off with mothers, believe it or not, had wanted to protect their children.
So can I just say, on the card, does it actually have like a series of instructions on there?
The card basically gives the basic information about the individual. For example, your viewers may not understand, but I have a name under common law, and it's normally attached to, or the government attach it to, what they call a legal fiction. It's also predominantly been called a straw man in the past. Literally, when people are born, your parents are informed that they have an obligation to record your birth. Now, 99% of the people do, and you're even threatened if you don't, you'll be fined as well. So most people record or register their child. But what they don't tell you about is that when that's done, the state then create what they call a legal fiction, a legal identity. And with that, they then conduct business throughout your life with the legal fiction.
I've got to admit, John, I think I only learnt about legal fiction a year ago, and I guess most of my audience have never come across legal fiction.
Yeah.
So this is where you've got a birth certificate, it's got a number on your birth certificate, your name is written in capital letters, is that right?
Tends to be, yes.
And basically the government trades your life, effectively, on the stock exchange.
Effectively, that's what it's very difficult to try and establish or get to the bottom of it, but basically seemingly that seems to be the case. It's been attached to various trusts, but what we've done with the Common Law Court, we know it exists. You only need to look at your driving licence or your bank card that's in capital letters. Effectively, what they do is when they deal with an individual, they attach a legal fiction to it. When you go into, say, a statutory court, if you're unfortunate enough you have to go into a statutory court, they will not actually speak to you as a man or a woman, believe it or not. So if you go in and say you introduce yourself as a man or a woman, they're not interested. All they want you to do is accept the legal fiction. So in my case, it would be Mr. John Smith. Now, if you consent to that and accept it, you're then hooked. You're in their system, their rules apply, and you're bound by them. That's it, end of story. Now, with that, what we've done is we've said, no, that's not correct, because basically you do have a right as an individual man or a woman to protect yourself. And if you've suffered a wrong, you have a right to a lawful remedy. Unfortunately, the statutory system or judicial system is not set up for justice. It's set up for profit, and they basically use your legal fiction to suit themselves.
So, John, can I just interrupt you there? I mean, I mentioned in the previous show that I'd signed my Article 61 oath, and you'd also done the same. Would it be a good idea for everybody watching this show now to sign their Article 61 oath?
Again, this is it. I would probably say there's nothing wrong with it. Yes, it's okay, because it's confirming your position in relation to the behaviour of the government, and the fact that you stand with the barons and say, yes, we agree with that, which is fine. Unfortunately, within the statutory system, what has been proven to be the case is that despite the barons signing up under Article 61 and presenting the relevant paperwork to the authorities, they've been ignored. Now, I know very many people who have went in because they've signed up under Article 61 and the right to rebel. They basically went in to defend themselves, and the statutory courts and every other authority dismisses it. So therefore, it doesn't matter whether you stand or not. It achieves nothing. Now, many people have been dealing with this for years, are aware of that. What we've actually found out by adopting and using a stance under common law with the common law court, what we've found out now that in over 100 documents going out to the authorities throughout the UK now, we're speaking about the police forces in England and Scotland that we know of. It's went out to the courts at every level throughout the UK, right up to Scotland, including the Court of Session, in England, the Supreme Court, and in England, the Lord Chief Justice, and even the Cabinet Minister for Justice in Downing Street. They've all had copies of the documents from the Common Law Court, and not one of them has ever been disputed. So therefore, the lawful documents issued by a people's court in the authority of the people, so nobody can dispute them. So it gives you the authority. So therefore, when we've taken these documents and we've actually went into a statutory court, for the first time ever that we know of, we've actually had a sheriff in Scotland confirming that you had no jurisdiction over us when we stood under common law as a man, only on the production of a common law certificate. Because if you go in and you state your name and that you stand under common law, they just ignore you. And it's happened myself included. However, once I obtained a copy of the birth certificate from the common law court, you're then facing them, or you're putting them in a position whereby they then have to rule against the people and against a common law court, because it's a valid common law court document. So they don't do that, and as such, we've had a sheriff or a judge turn around and say, no, we don't have any authority over you.
So is this all laid out on your website, John?
Most of the stuff is laid out there, yes. There is an explanation that goes through the various certificates you can apply for. There's an explanation there. There's one or two videos, but most of the information is available there. We found out just now, this is because of what the people want. The site is being developed as we speak. As I said, the birth certificate was created for predominantly mothers, because mothers had turned around and stated, look, this is fine, we wish to record our birth and we wish to record our child's birth. But because the state effectively take control of the children through the birth certificate, the statutory one, they wanted protection under common law, so then the mothers had asked for a common law birth certificate. Now, this is not a company, it's not a business. Basically, it's a process that exists. So when people say, look, we need a birth certificate, what we've had to do is say, right, okay, we need to do something about it. So we put together something with obviously the people who turn and say, look, we can do it this way. So we've decided we will issue common law birth certificates, and they're actually stamped by the court with a seal. So we do that and seal them and it's sent off. So they're quite good, but basically all we do is we cover the cost. So basically there's no profit in it, it's just cost. They're sent off recorded delivery by first class, and they're sent off. So they're actually quite good and impressive, and even the statutory authorities and the clerks of the court have been impressed with them. So it's done at cost, but when people do that, they have that privilege if they want to obtain one. There is no cost involved, however, if they wish to register with the Common Law Court, because what it comes down to is it's not monetary, it's about protection. If someone wanted to stand under common law, it's just to do so, if you think about it, you need to confirm that you exist. The only record of your existence is in the statutory system with the statutory birth certificate.
Yeah.
And the statutory system have you, so you're under their rules. If you want to stand under common law, you can try and claim that anywhere in a court. They won't accept it because you have nothing to back you up. You're an individual. If you obtain a common law birth certificate, you now stand with the backing of a people's common law court and the authority of the people, and judges now cannot do anything about it. Even the Lord Chief Justice in England, they had the documentation that was sent to him regarding this They had it for weeks in the cabinet minister in Downing Street. They had it for about 9 weeks, couldn't deal with it, and they sent it back saying, we don't want to accept your documents here, we're returning them. They didn't even refer to them by name. When we've actually been in the courts, the statutory courts in this country, none of the judges anywhere will actually refer to the documents by name or address them. We even had one judge trying to defend his position by stating that when the paperwork was submitted in defence of the individual, he had submitted documents which were unacceptable. They seemed to be downloaded from an internet site. Now, that tells you how wonderful our justice system is, because the judge is either thick as two planks or stupid, or he's blatantly lying to protect himself. The reason being is, up until now, I do not know of any printer that would print out a document which has an embossed seal stamped on it from a common law court. So they must have some sort of printing machines in the judicial system if they printed documents like that. He says, so to use that in a defence to justify his unlawful judgment is ludicrous. But basically that's how it works. We've got people just now, because of the documents, we went on from there. We have people just now currently using this in 31 different countries throughout the world, recording their births. Now with that, people have turned around and said, well, what can we do? Can we do something about the legal fiction? So there's a category on there to deal with that. One thing is developed from another, and then people have said, look, these documents are great, but they're A4 documents. We do not carry them about with us. Basically, they're A4 documents. Can we not get anything that we can put into a wallet or a purse? So we sat and spoke about it with various people and said, look, there is an option, we can do cards. So people had decided, yes, okay, we want to do that, but obviously there's more cost involved in the machine. We said, look, we need to do something for this. We'll have to charge for them. So people had agreed to do that. So we charged for that, and now people get common law court cards. Now the common law court card does a couple of things. First of all, it's issued by the common law court, so it's a lawful document. It's actually protected, it's security protection on it as well, so it can't be copied. There is a passport photo on it of the individual, and then there would be your common law name. Now, my common law name is just John Smith. Now, what I've done is with that, I've recorded that with the common law court. Having done that, I've obtained a reference number. So when I produce the card, it has my common law name and the reference number. So that lets everyone know that I've recorded my birth under common law and that I stand there and I have the record for it. Beneath that, it then gives you the legal fiction. Now, the legal fiction for me would be Mr. John Smith, and it's all capital letters. Now, what I've done with the common law court is I've obtained ownership of the legal fiction. So what I've been issued with is a reference number from the common law court, and that confirms that I lawfully obtain ownership of the legal fiction. It then has a date of birth, and then because there's various categories you can register with the common law court, they're all numbered. So basically we display the numbers for the categories that you have registered with. On the flip side of the card, there's a QR code in the back, so if someone wanted to scan it, it would send you straight to the website, and there's contact details for the website, which is the website address and an email address.
John, can I just interrupt? Somebody is putting up on the chat.
Yeah.
It won't work in England. Why won't it work in England?
It does work in England, so why won't it work in England?
Well, it says Scotland has different law with additions that England does.
Right,
now,
okay.
I know people who have taken themselves out of the system in England,
Yeah.
and they don't even pay any bills anymore.
Yeah.
Have you come across people where they've actually they've called themselves
Yes.
another name, and basically they get their food paid, their energy bills paid?
There are various people who do different things. They come out of the system, some have come out completely. The point is, we're not actually suggesting that people are coming out of the system. Bear in mind, if you record something under common law, there's no cost, this is for recording your birth. So you go online, you submit your information, that's it. The only thing doing this helps with is to protect individuals. So basically, if you suffer a wrong, you have an access to a lawful remedy, because the existing system is failing. However, in your everyday life, you still pay into the system, you still pay taxes, you're still part of the community, so therefore in your everyday life you just continue as normal. Now, when we get back to the viewer's question just now, which is it's nice to know that people are asking these questions.
Yeah.
However,
even if he is called the helpful troll.
Yeah, Paul, even when you look at this situation just now, it's brought up a previous point we discussed. It says that the laws in Scotland are different from the laws in England. Okay, yeah, fine, I'll accept that.
Yeah.
But to a degree, no, I won't, because what you're exactly discussing is statutory laws. Statutory laws are not, in fact, laws. The statutory system, basically, they produce what they call statutes and acts of parliament. It says they only become law if the individual members of the public accept them. If they don't accept them, they're not law. They're rules for the statutory system. The only true law in this country is common law.
And that's what unites us.
Yeah, and that's it. So
North and south of the border.
Common law in Scotland and common law in England is exactly the same. It's common law.
That's right.
It's down to the basic principles. Everything else that they're disputing, or the differences between the countries, is what the state have created.
Now, I know Ken Dewdney. He's in France. Have you met Ken Dewdney at all?
I haven't. I've read his book.
He focuses very much on the trial by jury system and where the jurors actually vet the laws and say whether it's appropriate before they try an individual. Is that what happens under your court system?
Well, basically under the court system, you get back to basic principles. The court decision and the laws are made and created by the people. So basically it says within that you have 12 jury members. The 12 jury members have the authority to find obviously someone guilty or not guilty, but if they find them guilty, they then can actually put in various punishments, sentences. They have no discretion whatsoever. They can basically deal with it as they seem suitable. Now, what we've said is we've had a common law court convened before, which I actually went to watch. I played no involvement in it. It wasn't my case, but I went to watch. And it was apparent afterwards that there was bickering between the jury. Now, bickering, it was harmless banter. But I don't think the issue of the judgment was ever in question. I think because the jury members take it very, very seriously, what we found out is that they're taking a very, very long time to deliberate. And I think from what limited knowledge we have, I think that the reason for the lengthy deliberation is because they are trying to reach a fair and honest judgment. So they're not actually holding people accountable for the crimes of the state. Someone is being summoned to appear in a court for a specific reason, and they're being tagged or addressed for that reason alone. And when they've got to think about any punishment or sentence, they then deal with it appropriately.
Well, we've still got the helpful troll still trolling, questioning about the Magna Carta. He says, watch Magna Carta by David Starkey to realise why the Magna Carta is not applicable in England. But I think we covered this at the beginning of the show anyway. We didn't actually say the Magna Carta, did we? We said we'd moved on from there, hadn't we? Because it was protecting the barons as much as the people.
Yeah.
So need to listen to the beginning of the show there. Somebody's mentioned about Sharia law courts. Well, that's in 85. I think there's 85 Sharia law courts, isn't there?
Yeah.
They're not supposed to be valid in this country, but apparently they seem to be behind closed doors and things seem to be happening. But what does the government do about it?
I think as far as I'm aware with the Sharia courts just now, is something that we can't actually stop. It's something that exists and it's used. And I think my understanding of the government just now have came to a sort of an acceptance that they exist. And I think they're trying to work with the communities to try and see if they can sort of make sure that they're done on sort of favourable grounds for the individuals concerned. And basically they're run reasonably well and they're not too extremist. So I think the government certainly can't stop them, but they want to try and obviously make sure that they're sort of acceptable within our community. Now, the other issue is which is something similar. If you get back to it and you think about the basic principles, it's similar to common law courts. Common law courts are set up by the people, and it's to obtain a lawful remedy. But the government or anyone, this is the authorities, have no right, have no authority to interfere in this process. And technically, decisions issued by a common law court are far superior to that in the statutory courts. But the statutory courts are companies run for profit, and decisions issued by a common law court combines with it the authority of the people. So they're far superior. Now, I'm aware...
Well, can I just interrupt you, John, because I think the helpful troll saying it's nonsense. He didn't hear part 1, where we said that common law courts have been running now for a couple of years, and remedies are now being issued. So perhaps the helpful troll could watch episode 1, and yes, they are working. Thank you. John, I can't hear you.
Speak. Sorry.
Right, so John, so in part 1, we did say that you started off with a common law court last year. Was it in Ascot?
No, the one we started with was in Dunblane in Scotland.
Dunblane, but you've been doing some in England as well now.
Yes, the latest one was in Ascot, down beside Glastonbury. There was 5 individuals. Again, this is people from England. Convened a court hearing for themselves to deal with 5 issues, separate issues. It involved sending out summonses to 6 individuals who were found guilty by the jury members, and various sentences were actually issued, which we're in the process just now of obviously enforcing. So the relevant court orders have went out to the individuals concerned, and we're waiting to see if they're going to reply to it before moving forward.
Right then, John. So to summarise, you've got a working website, you've got all the instructions on there, you've mentioned about convening common law courts, you've said you put posters up. Have you got a standard poster on the website at all?
No, there's information on the website. We don't. We address various issues, and when information is available, we'll put it up by way of a news bulletin or a breaking news option. When there's any meetings or anything coming up, we will put information available, but we don't have standard things to issue. Although similarly, people are actually asking for things within the site to say, look, we'd like to promote this, we'd like to have T-shirts, would like to do various things and put on logos and things and get hearings. These are all commercial things. It's not about commerce, it's not about making money. It's basically it's a process for people to use. It's free at source, and that's the way it remains. But obviously people have been asking for additional information. With the limited resources we have just now, we are obviously getting the information out there, and people are actually learning more about it as we go along.
I think you're going to be inundated after this show with people contacting you, I reckon.
Possibly. Every time, I don't know if it's quite good, we actually had a guy I know in Scotland who deals with common law issues here, was actually invited, because he has a YouTube channel, he was invited to speak up about common law to a company in America. They actually do a podcast thing, and also it's on the radio station. Now, they had asked him yesterday about something he's done. I think he's going out on Thursday, but they spoke to him about the common law court. He had a basic understanding about it, and the guy on Thursday said, well, look, when this goes out here, it's a big thing in America, you're probably going to be flooded with that. So unfortunately, it's just something we've got to deal with just now, but so we do have additional people that can help out if need be. So obviously there is a limited crew just now helping to do this. But as it expands, we will have to think about obviously getting more people involved.
So basically you're looking for volunteers, and you're looking for lots more interest from people throughout Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland?
Yes, everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Part of the United Kingdom, so that we unite under common law.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, John. It's been interesting talking to you on part 2 of A Lawful Remedy. People can contact you via www.commonlawcourt.com. And yes. Once again, thank you, John, for being on the show today.
Okay, thank you. Good night to yours.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye to everybody as well at home. Thank you.